Okay, Chris and Caleb, let's take a look at what we need to do. If you go to the website, you can see the sketch, the image of the sketch we're trying to put together. And we're going to start at the top, but we're going to first put in that horizontal center line. You're saying you're having difficulty selecting midpoint of that. I'll show you how to do that here in a moment. And we have this vertical center line from the origin, so we want to make sure that center line is right at the origin. And we're going to start with that arc. Half-inch dimension going from one side to the other. It kind of implies that that arc's going to go over to the other side, and it's going to be centered, so that's why we put that in there that way. And then 10 degrees over here between that line and that line, so it's a straight line over here, and it goes into that curve. And I think you have some elements in here, but yeah, you probably spent a lot of time in this, but you haven't gotten any work done. So yeah, let's see if we can fix this. First of all, let's get rid of this dimension. We want to go over the halfway point. Let's make sure your reference geometry is good. So yeah, you have the center points in there. You don't necessarily have to grab the midpoint of this line and put it at the origin. But if you want to, right-click on that, select midpoint. There it is down there. Go up here and select that point or the origin up there, and then make that coincident. So that'll do that, but you don't necessarily have to do that. And watch what happens. If you try to take the trim tool and take that out, ain't going to like it. It's not, because it's going to consider that midpoint relationship we put in there, and it's not going to like that. So let's go ahead and take that midpoint and delete that. And I think we'll be okay. So yeah, just extend that line down from the origin. So this thing, we just need to put in a dimension between that point and that center line. Center line gets selected second. If you put in this side a single dimension, double dimension in that side, or a diameter as opposed to a radius, let's go ahead and drop that into place. And now we have that fully defined. Oop, don't know what that is, but let's go to the green check mark. And now we can move on. So yeah, we need to define this now too. So let's get back to that sketch. We should have a 1.5 inch dimension on that with a radius, and that should define that too. So see what we can do here. Let's take this dimension and get rid of that. Although I think we probably could have kept it. So if we go back to Z, I think if we click on it, we have an opportunity to put in, tell it's a double dimension. So yeah, ain't gonna let us do it. Sometimes you'll see that in there. If you initiate it as a double dimension, it's going to have it there as an option. So remember, not the center of the circle. Never that limits you. You can't do much with that unless you really want to define the center of the circle. But you want to go to the edge of the arc, go out here to that center line and just go out. There's your double dimension. There's your single dimension. That's the diameter. That's the radius. We're going to drop that in place. And then, yeah, we're going to go to the green check mark over here to leaders. Now we're going to make that into a actually go down here, we're going to make that into its maximum condition. And we're going to type in Control A, selects all those letters 1.5. So that's what it should be. Then this guy down here, you don't want to dimension a point. Yeah, I guess that could work, but what would be better is to do the next portion on this thing, and that is to provide provide a line that goes down from that vertical line. It's going to be tangent to that arc. Let's go ahead and define this a little bit better too. So if we go up here and start from the top, let's make sure we define this as we go. So this is 0.3. That makes that fully defined. This one's going to be 0.5. Not fully defined until we add that line segment down here, just like we did up here. Had that line segment in there, define that line segment, define the arc ultimately. And so this is what we did. We just added this dimension, and then before that we added that dimension. And then we have this dimension down here. That's a background dimension. I'll show you how to put that in. It's a dimension that's driven by the existing sketch geometry. So now we're going to put a line in here. We're going to make that vertical. That's important. We have a vertical relationship down here. So if you look at this, let's get a little bit closer to this. So we have a vertical relationship here and two tangent ones. So we want to make sure we get that in there. Sketch relations are just as important as dimensions too. So we're going to go ahead and select those two things. We're going to make that tangent. That's vertical. And now this is where we want to put in that dimension. So this dimension over here, not 0.3, that's going to be 0.6. So you don't want to dimension a point. You want to make sure you dimension a line. If you dimension a point, quite literally that 30 millimeter dimension could like rotate around that point. But if you dimension that line and that line's already vertical, you have a constraint in that. And now you can put that on the other side of that center line. It should pick up that double dimension for you. So now you just need a 3-point arc or a tangent arc. Just go for an outline over here, bring that over here. And this guy over here, you want to make sure the center of that's going to be on that line. And we're going to make that coincident, and this is where that 1.5 inch dimension comes in. Over here, 1.5. Now it's fully defined, so all I have to do is mirror it to the other side. So there were some check dimensions in here. There's a check dimension over here. Of course, if we were to put a dimension in like that, and if we made it driving, now a whole bunch of stuff turns yellow. It's conflicting with this dimension down here and that dimension over here. So we're going to take that dimension, we're going to make it driven. So right-click on it. Let's try that again. We're going to go, not the numbers, but let's go into dimension itself. Okay, let's try the numbers. Okay, we should get that. Let's try that again. Okay, now I think we have to highlight it in blue. There we go. We're going to make it driven. That puts it in the background. And this guy over here, this should be 0.3. We're going to make that driven too. So this 0.3 has a relationship with that 0.6. This 0.3 is the radius, 0.6 is the diameter, and it's referring to the same thing. So, you know, the distance between that line and that line over here is 0.3. Same thing over here. The distance between this arc and that point over here is going to be 0.3. So this is the reason why this is going to be redundant to that, why you're going to get a failure with that. So once you have that done, then you should be able to right-click on this, select chain, click on that, go up here to mirror. Everything should be fine on the other side. So now you have to redefine things. So you had that point up here, which looks like it didn't fail on the top, but it's failed on the bottom. So let's just exaggerate that a little bit. Go to smart dimension between that arc and this line up here. Just put in an arbitrary value for now, but go over here to leaders. We're going to make that the maximum condition. Then come over here and make that 1.5. And you should be ready to go.